Songwriters and composers, what if I told you that there is more to a melody than just pitch and rhythm? We usually learn that those are the two components, right? And of those two, rhythm is more important than pitch when it comes to melody. And that is actually pretty true. If you listen to most songs, rhythm matters more than pitch. However, I've thought of 5 other components as my students turn their music in that they've generated from their notation software, and it is just this static MIDI, lifeless puke out of their melody ideas, that I'm realizing that it is lacking certain components of what melody actually is, and it's not doing their composition justice. So I'm going to start with a melody, and I'm just going to let you hear it plain. That had no variation in anything. It's just the melody, right? Pitch and rhythm. First thing we're going to talk about is note length, because note length has a lot to do with pocket, and it can give a melody a lot of personality. So the way I played it, everything was legato and all the notes connected, right? But what if I went? That already gives it a little more personality. What if I make it all super detached? That gives it another personality, right? Depending on which notes you make short or long, it changes the personality of your melody, and it really, really matters. Next aspect is accent. Which notes you give the emphasis to. So you could have it be, so the accent is on those notes, or you could have, see how those are two very different melodies? Same rhythm, same pitches, different accents. Depending on where they're at in the measure, it kind of implies where it would land in the measure, but you can always put it in a measure where you're accenting on the weak beats, and that actually is what syncopation is. So syncopation is putting the accents where they're not expected. The strongest beats are 1 and 3, 2 and 4 are the weakest ones, 1 is the strongest, 3 is the second strongest. Next is dynamics. Dynamics matter. So if I was to play this, just kind of, average versus, that's very different, 2 very different melodies. The next component is register. What octave are you writing it in? Because this is very different than same melody, different octaves. Register actually adds to the personality of what you're writing. And then the last component is timbre. So timbre, right now, all I have is piano and voice in this room, but imagine that on a trumpet with a mute, imagine that on a kazoo, imagine that on a tuba, imagine it on a xylophone, and then on a voice, ba-ba-dum, ba-da-ba-dum, versus very, very different. So there you go. That is 7 components of a melody, not just pitch and rhythm.